Every year, on average, within the United States of America, over 2.8% of adults within the United States are diagnosed with a mental illness that over the centuries we have come to know as a medical and community and society as bipolar disorder. Roughly 2.3 million Americans have been affected by this disorder, which is roughly 1% of the population of the United States, and many more close to them as well have been affected. I myself, within my own family, have been affected by this, as many people on my biological family's side, biological father's side, have been diagnosed with bipolar, and I've seen the struggles that they have had to go through with this mental illness and the strain that it brings on their lives, as well as their spouses, all the way down to me. Bipolar disorder has affected millions of Americans and their family members as well. Those who are diagnosed with it, who are diagnosed with it, are directly affected, but it also affects those who they communicate and strive to be with every single day. And to me, it is important that we understand not only mental illnesses as a whole, but bipolar disorder, as it is a diagnosis that has affected many across the country. In this message, I'm going to talk about the effects of bipolar disorder, how it originated, where we learned the majority of the information that we know about it from, and how it affects our society, and what we as a society and medical community have come to learn about it, and the treatments and plans of action we've taken against it. Now, bipolar disorder was originally come to known from ancient Greek and Roman medical literature. The first mention of the disorder the first thoughts of it came from what is known as from Hippocrates, who was a physician who was known as the father of medicine to many. He was the first to document these two extreme moods, according to WebMD.com. Plato, as well, an Athenian philosopher, described three mental patterns: one involving a mental stain that arises from a bodily cause of origin. That as well, according to WebMD and my research on the disorder. Since those early days of when we first learned about the disorder, and near the same time, another French psychiatrist who studied mental illnesses back in those times when they were first coming about to be known, the French psychiatrist Jules Baillarger determined that there were intervals between the two: mania and depression, some of the two main sides of bipolar disorder, and as well many other mental illnesses. But mania and depression are the two most important factors to understand when talking about bipolar disorder. This has helped us understand the large mood swings by those affected by bipolar disorder. Now that we've understood a little bit about the origin and the history of bipolar disorder, let's take a deeper look into the signs that caused bipolar disorder and some of the symptoms that we can see in an individual that would cause them to be diagnosed with bipolar disorder, this mental illness. Some of the causes and symptoms vary greatly within bipolar disorder, from distinct manic and mania within one's brain to very prolonged depressive and sad states. These psychotic states reflect the extreme moods that some might mistake for schizophrenia. While it is not schizophrenia specific, these symptoms are very mostly associated with schizophrenia on how they look and feel, according to NAMI.org /about mental illness. The mania is a typical symptom that includes psychotic episodes, rage, extreme mood swings, etc. These lead to self-harm and not being aware of the consequences of their actions, mostly suicidal thoughts and suicide itself. Depressive episodes as well is a second one, which is huge in bipolar disorder. Can include a large variety of things such as low energy, low motivation to complete daily activities, and general loss of interest in one's daily activities and even life. These depressive episodes can be as long as days to months to even years in extreme cases, with occasional often thoughts and worst case scenario, suicide itself. These causes of bipolar disorder have been discovered by the professional medical community According to NAMI.com/mental illness, many studies have been done with those diagnosed with bipolar disorder to understand some of these causes and symptoms of the disorder. Understanding now about the origin as well as some of the causes and the symptoms of bipolar disorder, how does it affect that said patient as well as the rest of the society who that patient is surrounded by every day? Bipolar disorder has affected our society as a whole. Mental illness has taken a great impact and made a great imprint on our society, as it has affected millions of Americans and many more around the globe for centuries. Living with these patients, people have to learn to deal with these massive mood swings, manic episodes, and depressive states for those who have been diagnosed. According to heretohelp.com, we learned that living with a person who has bipolar disorder involves learning how to cope with the difficulties that symptoms can create, supporting the person who is ill, and finding effective ways to stop it and to cope. These family members may experience a variety of emotions that come with it, come with dealing with somebody who is diagnosed with bipolar disorder. While it is a mental illness and there are not very positive aspects and effects that it leaves on society, there are some positive aspects of knowing that with our history as a human race, all the way dating back to the Roman ancient Greeks, we have learned how to deal with it, and bipolar disorder has helped us learn how to deal with mental illness as a whole. Some of the most positive and impactful aspects of those diagnosed with bipolar include those patients tend to be more empathetic and creative individuals. According to bipolardisorders.com, patients in this study stressed to find the importance of open communication in order to provide individualized care. Communication has been known as one of the most recognized negative effects of bipolar, which can create very tough situations for those individuals in the patient's life. So those are some of the negative effects as well that it leads to. While some of the positive effects create more creative and empathetic people, the negative effects lead to people who have a harder time communicating. Now that we've talked about the origin, causes and symptoms, and positive and negative effects it has on our society, how do we treat bipolar disorder? What have we as a medical community come to learn about this mental illness that we can take away? The main way that bipolar disorder is treated is through a number of steps and processes as well as medications. And throughout modern medicine, we've come to understand different ways and treatments we can use using modern medicine to treat bipolar disorder. As stated on WebMD.com, typically the treatments entails a combination of at least one mood stabilizing drug and or atypical antipsychotic. And as well, different stages of therapy have been known to help patients with bipolar disorder throughout their lives, because bipolar disorder is a lifelong diagnosis. Once you are diagnosed, there is no way to specifically get rid of bipolar disorder per se. So thank you for coming and listening to a little more information about this mental illness, as I know it'll help society as we learn and share this information and grow together. As we've looked at the causes and symptoms, the history and the origin of where it's come from, how it affects us as a society, and what we can do as a society to better cope with it, and what we have come to learn about it. Now it's taken its toll on people's lives and also affected our society greatly as well. We've both learned from it and what it means to the psychological medical community, and we as a society have been able to learn more and understand about how this mental illness works. Thank you.